There is nothing worse than getting to your campsite and facing the question, Mom, what's for dinner? Or realizing you forgot like one major ingredient that causes you to not be able to fix the meal you had in mind. We're part-time campers. We don't do this full-time, but because we're part-timers, I have to plan very specifically for each and every trip to make sure we have the things we need. I'm all about making this as easy and as stress-free as I possibly can. We're doing this because we want to have fun, right? Like we want to have an enjoyable weekend. And when a wrench gets thrown in your like meal planning, it's just not very fun, and it can be frustrating. Maybe you have to eat out, you didn't plan to spend that money, and then just the whole thing snowballs and it cannot be very much fun. So planning is important. Nobody wants hangry kids. Seriously? So what I'm not about is eating only like hot dogs and hamburgers and peanut butter and jelly and s'mores the whole weekend. So these are a couple steps that might be helpful to you, and trying to organize some of your steps in planning too, and hopefully, cause your trips to be less of a headache. Number one is I make my list. I literally like make time for this. I sit down and I like thumb through some of my cookbooks that I'm familiar with at home, recipes I know that I love that are easy, or I'm getting on Pinterest and I'm making out my list of what we're going to eat and what I'm going to need to pack. Bonus tip, when you're the cook or the chef or the one that does the meal planning and the meal preparing, you never fix anything you don't like. Isn't that great? So there'll never be a meal that you make that you don't like because you're the one that chose it, right? Win-win for moms. So as I'm making my list, I'm asking myself, where are we going? What trip did we plan? How long are we going to be there? What meals are necessary to fix? Like how much cooking is necessary? And so I pick my meals accordingly. If, for example, we're going to a state park and there's no like restaurants nearby or like touristy things to go do, obviously I'm going to be preparing more meals in the camper than we are doing the touristy thing and eating out. If we're going to Orlando or a beach town somewhere in Florida, well, there's lots of restaurants to choose from, and typically those are like vacation trips for us, and I don't want to do a lot of cooking, so we plan very little for the camper and plan to spend more dining out. So when I'm making my list according to how many days we're going to be gone, I'm breaking it down knowing that we need, what are we going to have for breakfast? Say it's a 3-day trip. So I need 3 breakfast meals, right? Then I need lunch. Then I need to know what's for dinner. Then I also need to know what snacks I'm bringing, because let's face it, we all snack, and when we're in the camper late at night, we want some popcorn, or the kids want a granola bar, or whatever. We got to take snacks too. And drinks, don't forget drinks. Then I make a space on my list for staple pieces that I know I already have at home that I need to put in the camper, like butter, extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, any condiments like ketchup, mustard, mayo, And then a third column would be things I do not have at home and I need to go to the store to purchase. Number 2 in this whole process is I'm checking my pantry at home to see what I already have. I'm checking those things off of my meal planning list because I know like if I already have tortillas to make tacos, then I do not need to purchase that. Number 3 is I shop the day before we leave, and I already have the camper fridge and freezer cooled off. That way when I bring my groceries in, I'm only bringing them in one time. They're going right in this camper fridge. I don't have to separate them at home or put them in a house fridge or a garage fridge, like one time. So the day before, we cool this sucker off and we bring the groceries straight in. Again, as easy and stress-free as possible. Number 4 is I have these grocery bins that I love and use. Now you can find whatever works for you, but I get those little square, canvas like type ones at Meijer or Kroger or whatever, and I'll buy 5 or 6 of them, and I always keep them in the trunk of my car or in the garage somewhere. So when I'm packing camper groceries, they're so easy to put in those bins, bring them right in the camper, and then when we're done with our weekend trip, I load what's left in the fridge, put them right in the bins, and bring them right back to the garage. Like, it's so easy. Number 5 is I take my list with me. That list I just made, Do not forget it, because if you're anything like me, I forget what I buy ingredients for. I'm like, why did I buy this celery? I don't know why I have celery. And then the celery goes bad and then we throw it out, right? I'm sure you guys can relate. So take your list with you and then you've already got every meal planned. I know that sounds crazy. Like if you don't like itineraries, and listen, we don't do vacation itineraries. We usually wing it when we get there. But when it comes to food and eating, I have an itinerary because it's going to cost you so much more if you don't. Stress and money. But take your list with you. I literally put it in my silverware drawer. That's about where I keep it, because if I put it somewhere on the counter, one of the kids will lose it or it'll fly out the window or something. And that way when we show up, you know, to our campground that we're going to, I know exactly what meal comes next and what I bought those ingredients for, and I should have packed them all in the camper. I got a bonus tip for you, and this you may or may not already do, but if you don't, maybe it'll help you. So when you're part-timers like us, you can kind of minimize your recipes. Now you can do this full-time too, but like you don't have to buy every ingredient for every recipe. For example, I like smoothies in the morning. Like almost every morning I have a smoothie. Seriously, almost every morning. I love them. But I don't always need all the ingredients. So for example, if I'm making a banana mango smoothie with coconut milk, because I don't use a lot of dairy, I use coconut milk instead, or water. Maybe normally at home I would make it with also some ginger or some turmeric or maybe some vanilla protein powder. But when I'm camping, I leave that extra stuff at home. So I only need bananas, mangoes, and coconut milk. That's it. Like simple. Simplify the recipe, and that can help you save a lot of stress and bringing and packing unnecessary stuff. Another bonus tip is buy pre-chopped items. Like, for example, if you're making chili, go ahead and spend the extra couple bucks and buy the chopped onions at the store. It's less prepping for you. It's just so much easier. It comes in its own little container, throw it in the fridge, done. And then the last tip is bring the kids something they love. Sugar goes a long way. And sometimes I'll put out like little candy dishes. Like one of my kids loves paydays. We'll buy paydays and put them in a bowl or whatever it is they love. Buy those things. It will save you a little bit of headache. Because believe me, food with, especially like preteens and teens, like goes a long way. Just feed them. Just make sure they're not hangry and feed them what they love. Happy kids equals happy wife equals happy life, right? And look, like this isn't a tip that you guys don't already know. When you get in the car line to pick up your kid at school, you probably already know that kid's gonna be hangry. They usually dump all their stuff from the day on you, and they whine and they cry and they get grouchy and you wonder why. Well, I figured out very early on when my kids were like elementary age, they needed sugar. They don't always need sugar, but they needed sugar. And I would always keep those little like gummies in the car. Not those kind of gummies, like the fruit snack gummies. This isn't that kind of video. Anyway, you keep a snack they love, and when they get in the car, you give them their snack, and they're eating their snack, and their blood sugar's coming back to life, and now they're talking to mom like a normal person and not a raging Tyrannosaurus Rex, and your life is just a little more peaceful. So bring the kids what they love, and I promise you, you'll have a stress-free camping trip. Well, I mean, when it comes to at least making sure you had the right food. That's all I got. Hope the video was helpful. If it was, please hit like. Subscribe if you are a part-time RVer and you're like us and just do this on the weekends and, I don't know, want to join the party. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on our next adventure.